Hey guys, welcome back to Programming with Mike. Today we're going to learn about taking user input and we'll also talk about comments, which are essential for writing clean and readable code. Before we dive into user input, let's talk about comments. Comments are used to explain the code, making it easier to understand. They are ignored by the compiler and do not affect program execution. We can do a single line comment by using two slashes, and anything in this line will be ignored. We also have multi-line comments, which are done by putting a slash and an asterisk, and on the other hand, closing it the other way around. Anything within this block will be ignored by the compiler. If we run this program, first by compiling it, gcc comments.c-o and the name of the executable, and run it, we'll see that we just get hello world. But if we comment out this line and compile it again, we'll see that nothing gets printed because the compiler ignored this line. Now that we understand comments, let's move on to getting user input. In C, we can use the scanf function to take user input. It reads formatted input and stores it in a variable. Here is an example of getting the age from the user. We can see that if we want to store an age from a user, we have to store it in an integer, like so. We have int age, which is our variable of type integer. We want to put our age into this variable. We do so with the scanf function, where we put the %d, which is for getting integers, and then our variable. We put this character here to indicate to the scanf function the address of this variable. So we always have to put this character so scanf knows where to put the input in memory. So if we try to run this program, we can do so by compiling it first, input.c, and if we run it, we can see that it asks for our age in this printf, and then is blocked here on the scanf, waiting for us to write an integer to the terminal. So if we do so by writing some integer and hitting enter, scanf will read what we inputted and store it in age, which is then printed in here. Now, what if we want to get from the user another type of variable, like a float? We do so the exact same way, but instead of having %d in the scanf, we have %f for a float. We declare our variable, in this case the height variable, as a float type, and then get from the user that value through the scanf function. If we run again the program by compiling it first and then running it, we can see that it asks for our age, which is like 25, and for our height we can input like 2.0, and it gets the 2.0 and stores it in height. If you want to get from the user a character, like a char variable, we do so by declaring first the char variable, which in this case is gender, and then we use the %c for getting a single character. We use the %c for getting a single character. It's good practice to put a space before to avoid new line issues. What is a new line issue? This happens when in the previous scanf we hit enter and it writes into the terminal the character -n or /n, and when the scanf goes in here, it tries to read that /n from the previous scanf. We can avoid that by putting a space before the %c. We can see our program running fine if we compile it and run it. Our age, let's say 54, our height 1 meter and 80 centimeters, and our gender, like a male. Everything is working fine. Now, what if we want to get a sentence from the user, which is called a string? We cannot use scanf directly. We have to use fgets. We can do it with fgets. With fgets, it does the same thing as scanf, but fgets gets a string, a full sentence that we write on the terminal. We have to create space for an array of characters, in this case 50 characters, meaning that it will read a maximum of 50 characters. The size of name tells fgets function to read a maximum of 50 characters. It's the same thing as putting a 50 directly. If we wanted, we could just put 50 in here, but it's good practice to use size of. stdin means that fgets will read from the standard input, which is a terminal, where we will write. So, to run this, we have to delete first everything before, just for example purposes. So, if we compile our program and run it, we can see now that it asks for our name, and we can write a whole sentence, in this case, with a maximum length of 50 characters. So it asks for my name. I can write programming with Mike. And we can see that it gets our name correctly. If we write something bigger than 50 characters, which we can do by just spamming the terminal, we can see that it will get a maximum of 50 characters of this string. Let's see if this is enough. Okay, see that is stopped somewhere around here, I think, and ignored the rest of the characters. It just got 50 characters at maximum. And that's it for today. Now you know how to get user input in C and use comments to make your code more readable. We covered the integer, the float, the char, and strings inputs. Thank you for watching.